Hey, Brian, you know what's overrated?
What?
Tuning your guitar, practicing, and making things sound good.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be beautiful if you could just have a guitar that was always in tune no matter what?
That would be really awesome.
Guess what?
What?
That's reality, eh?
No.
You can now do it. This is it. This is an Evertune Bridge on a Cort KX700. We've waited a long time to play this guitar, Brian.
Yes. Months.
Years for me. I played this at the 2022 Cort Sessions. Shout out to my man Ricky, who you met, band composer, right?
Yep.
We demoed all the new Cort stuff, and this was the KX700. This is the first time I've ever played something with an Evertune Bridge. These are becoming a little more popular. You have some experience with these,
yeah.
Right? So what's going on here? Why does this always sound so in tune, even with me playing it?
So, the reason it always stays in tune is because you've got every string is sort of its own little floating bridge. So if you imagine kind of like a Floyd Rose fully floating tremolo, right? This isn't a tremolo, but each string is on this floating tension spring. And the idea is that that spring, it's very sensitive spring, and so once you set it at a tension, it sort of memorizes that tension. So your guitar, as long as you've got good locking tuners, stable locking tuners up there, we don't even need a locking nut.
Yep.
You can bang on the guitar, you can do low tunings, low tensions, and it's not going to go out of tune.
You said it was really good, just especially for low-tuned stuff.
Yeah, so if you have like super low-tuned stuff and you don't want to use extremely heavy tension strings, like you want to do drop G, you want to do drop F, things like that, and maybe you don't have a longer scale guitar, you can get away with stuff on the Evertune that would be just impossible with just a standard hardtail or trem bridge, just because it kind of does some magical stuff. You can have like a really, really floppy tension and it will stay in tune. So, super good for that. There are some sort of strange caveats to using the system.
And a lot of that depends on how you set it up.
Exactly,
right?
Yeah. So right now, this guitar, the way it's set up is there's 3 zones in an Evertune system. Zone 1 is just sort of, no tension here on the springs. You would only be in Zone 1 if you were kind of restringing the guitar. These would be all the way back against the thing.
Okay.
Zone 2, there's tension on the springs, and so it's sort of equal. And I'll go give you a little demonstration.
Please.
So in Zone 2, we're... See, no matter where I go...
It's not changing anything.
I can go down to Zone 1. Let's see if I can get all the way to... There we are. There's Zone 1. See how we're just doing nothing. No, even if I... Set the whole guitar up for Zone 2 and you wouldn't be able to bend, you wouldn't be able to do any vibrato, it would just always sort of stick.
That's how it was set up when I was doing the demo at the Cort Sessions. It was set up where there was no vibrato at all. So you would be like shaking, trying as harder, but it was such a weird experience.
And so that's really weird. That would sort of, I would only use that in certain studio situations, like just playing chords, rhythm, stuff like that, or like really sort of isolated lead parts where I wasn't going to be doing any sort of expressive bending or even just any vibrato whatsoever.
Okay.
But if we go...
Keep going. Keep traveling. There we go.
that?
And it goes right to the next one.
Hear that? So that's Zone 3. Now we're sort of out of the Evertune zone. And what that means is it's pulled this spring against the stop here on this specific. Again, every string has one of these, right?
And you can set the stop? Is that how that works? Or?
No, I've set by using the tension at the tuning peg. I've set it towards the sort of extreme stop there into the Zone 3. And so if you want expression, you want to be between right on the edge of Zone 2, so it always stays in tune. It never drops down.
Okay.
But when you apply a bend, tension upwards, it pushes against the stop, and you're able to bend.
Okay,
and so the trick is to get an expressive situation. And usually what I'll do is I'll take a tuner after I've set it up, and I'll pull it up into zone 3, and you can do this just by ear. You can just kind of, but it stays in tune, right? And so you'd probably, because you can do this for every string, let's say you might want your top strings here to be well into zone 2, so where there's just no chance and you can go bang on them and it's never going to kind of go out of tune. It's never going to go sharp.
Okay.
Right? But then maybe you want your top 3 strings,
your highest ones.
So you can
get the bends in there.
See, even that is, it's not quite there. So what I would do is I would try to find kind of, see, I just right at the edge.
Yeah.
When you just hear it go sharp, you want to come back maybe an 8th turn.
Okay.
Now.
And then it's more. All right. Then it sounds more like you. Huh.
Right. So you can really get those bends. So sometimes maybe you don't want to be able to do vibrato, but you want to do, half and whole step bends. So you can kind of back it off just a little bit. No vibrato, but
you can still get to the bend.
Right, because as soon as you start bending, and let's say I go to sort of a whole step, it's pushing against that stop there and allowing tension, like sort of to the end of the road for that spring, because it kind of hits the stop right there.
Okay.
And then now you can bend sharp.
Super cool. So because vibrato is just small variations in pitch.
Yeah.
So you're bending it out
Little,
of
like
tune,
very
essentially.
you're doing bends of maybe 5 cents, 10 cents, kind of when you do stuff like that. But yeah, getting it sort of set up how you like it is probably the biggest hurdle.
Which is why it's great that you're awesome at this, because like I said, when I first played this, it was not set up to bend or do any vibrato at all. Like you'd really have to crank on it to get like a different note.
Exactly.
And then it's like it becomes this super perfectly in tuned instrument, but you lose all the character of your playing.
That's kind of neuters the character of your playing when you're kind of in zone 2, which maybe you want. Maybe you're trying to sort of layer parts in the studio, and you're working with other instruments. Maybe you're working with a lot of MIDI instruments that have very stable pitch.
Brian is a video game composer for Finishing Move Inc. right here. So check out his work, linked in the description. So when you're working with like MIDI libraries and stuff,
yeah, they're gonna generally have pretty stable tuning, right? And so if you're playing kind of like in the context of like a studio production, right, you're not just kind of like jamming out on solo blues guitar. You're like you're playing parts. You're trying to kind of fit everything into the mix. You don't necessarily need to have all that expression. In fact, like it's something that I've noticed. I'm a very expressive guitar player just by nature. That's how I like to play guitar.
you wear your heart on your fingertips.
And I'll do takes, and I'll listen back and I'll be like, "Whoa, bro! Like this way too there's just way too much expression going into sort of like a layered part that's gonna try to like sit in the mix." And so sometimes it's kind of like it's like I probably should just be better at like not playing so expressively, but it can be fun with the Evertune to kind of just let it neuter your expression.
It's got a governor. It's got a governor on it.
Yeah, it says no bends, no
Sorry,
boomer bends.
Sorry, not you might
not
try
today.
your hardest.
So the thing that we should probably mention, if you've noticed, when I was tuning the tuning pegs, in zone 2, when it's in tune, they weren't doing anything, and then I would go sharp, or I would go back into zone 1 and flat. So how do you actually tune the guitar? When you're in zone 2, how do I make sure that's an E, right? If I'm...
Right. It's not just going to come set up exactly how you want it to.
Yeah, so when you first put these strings on, right, or if you change strings to a different tension, or if let's say you want to change tuning, you want to do E flat standard or D standard or drop C or something like
even
that.
drop D.
It's not like this has a memory that knows exactly like, oh, this is an E on the guitar forever at any scale, right? So there's a bunch of little Allen keyholes here that are for your tuning. So you'd actually tune with it's a little Allen key.
Okay.
And this is the Evertune one, but
It's got a fancy handle.
You can use, you can kind of like put it on your keychain if you want. But you just stick it in here. And if there's one annoying thing is that it's hard to kind of get it in. And so I'm glad I'm not tuning this all the time. But that's my one gripe is that, getting it slotted in. And then you got to be careful. So when you tune, right, if you can feel that spring and you can hear that, right?
Sure.
Going. And so what you want to do is when you do your tuning, you play the note, twist the direction you need to go in based on what your tuner's telling you, and let go, so that you're not.
Yeah.
Because then you're never gonna find the pitch.
The type of strings matter too with these, right?
Yeah. So they can, like, they recommend coated strings just because coated strings don't oxidize nearly as fast, right? So regular strings. Not that you can't use regular strings. It's just that once you have the spring, these, like I said, super sensitive springs, right? So any oxidation on the string is going to add weight to the string, and you're going to get, you'll find a week or two later you're 2, 3, 4 cents out of tune. Now, for like someone who's tuning your guitar every day, or like, I don't know, we've both played guitars. We have to like tune it every 5 minutes to even play a chord that's stable. It's 2 weeks in tune seems like, oh my gosh, that's insane.
Yeah.
So if you do use sort of uncoated strings, it's totally fine. It just, put them on, let them oxidize a little bit, and then just make sure to sort of check the tuning on the guitar a week or two later. And I would even, if I'm in the studio, I'm checking the tuning at least once a day, even with the Evertune, just to make sure that changes in temperature and that kind of thing. But they are pretty stable. Like, this guitar, like when we took it out of the packaging, it was in tune. I just did minor touch-ups, and that had gone.
Lord knows where this guitar is. This is we're just borrowing it from Cort.
Who knows where
we'll be sending it on its way.
But yeah, you can adjust the string. You can adjust the bridge height here. Each saddle has its own, and then you can do the intonation too. You would intonate it just like you would any other guitar. Sort of check at the 12th fret and do that. You just aren't using these tuners to do anything other than get the string into zone 2 tension so that the spring is fully floating.
Okay, cool. I love it. Well, I'm gonna do a little instrumental with this in a perfectly in-tune guitar. What a world, Brian. I don't know if I can adapt to it. It's gonna be weird not being my normal out-of-tune self. Alright, so let's give it kind of a proper little demo. So we've got ash top, mahogany body, the back and the neck are like this 5-piece roasted maple and walnut thing, which looks absolutely spectacular. I love how they do the roasted necks now. Just too sexy. Like we said before, locking tuners. The pickups are the Sentient in the neck and the Nazgul, I believe is how you say it, in the bridge. So I'm just going to kind of... I do want to say it's so interesting kind of having that delay between really kind of adding that vibrato and having it not be... how you're used to. It's so slightly different. It almost feels like you're a stranger in your own hands. So yeah, I'm just gonna kind of do a little. Right now, this is just on the neck. 3-way, so middle. Yeah, let's hear how it sounds. But yeah, thanks Cort for letting me check this one out. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, it's been really cool to just finally play something with an Evertune Bridge. Like I said, first time since I actually did the original Cort demo with this guitar. But anyways, super cool how they kind of have this body and this shape too. Feels really good. So yeah, thanks for watching. Check out the music.